My name is Maiken and I'm a Danish PhD student and inaugural recipient of Erik Elgaard Sørensen's PhD scholarship. I would like to give you an example of how we use fundamental care resources and material in my PhD project entitled Supporting the Transition from Student to Newly Graduated Nurse using the Conceptual Fundamentals of Care framework. The Erik Elgaard Sørensen Scholarship has enabled a collaboration between Denmark and Australia. This agreement for mentoring has been established between Aalborg University and Flinders University. This gives me an exceptional opportunity to work across borders and to be a part of an external learning collaborative during my PhD. As you see on the slide, I have 2 Danish supervisors and 2 Australian supervisors. From Denmark, I have Professor Mette Grønkjær as my main supervisor, and Dr. Siri Volbjerg is my co-supervisor. And from Australia, I have Dr. Tiffany Conroy and Dr. Rebecca Field. This unique agreement has become a reality due to the ILC's worldwide commitment. I am an ILC member and I participated in my first annual international conference in 2019, where I listened and I saw these prominent researchers present their inspiring work in the field of fundamentals of care. Due to the ILC's true interest in supporting research and education activities carried out by their members, these highly respected researchers are today my supervisors. I just want to give you a short introduction to the background of the project. On the slide, you will find the areas of transition challenges encountered by newly graduated nurses as we identified in the literature. These are limited clinical knowledge or skills, lack of confidence, insufficient communication, high expectations, unsuccessful relationship with colleagues, inadequate support, high workload, negative working environment. For decades, studies have shown that the transition period is essential to the development of professional identity and resilience as a nurse. Yet recent studies still underlines that newly graduated nurses experience consistent job dissatisfaction. These challenges, as we identified in the literature, are substantial for the newly graduated nurses' well-being, retention, and most likely also the quality of delivered nursing care. Consequently, we need to take a closer look at how we can support the newly graduated nurses and how we can make the transition challenges manageable. Leading me to the next slide to present the motivation and overall aim of the project. The logic belief for this project is if we focus on how we can develop an intervention that can support newly graduated nurses' professional and personal needs, we might make them feel more confident and competent to provide nursing care and have a positive influence on their well-being. To the best of our knowledge, the fundamentals of care framework's alignment with supporting the transition from nursing student to newly graduated nurse has not yet been explored, despite strong face fidelity. The overall aim is to explore the use of conceptual fundamentals of care framework in supporting the transition from nursing student to newly graduated nurse. We are planning a systematic investigation to generate evidence on how the fundamentals of care framework can be integrated in newly graduated nurses' orientation and identify the possibilities and limitations of the fundamentals of care framework's utility in overcoming challenges experienced by newly graduated nurses in the transition period. Let me put a few more words to the use of the conceptual fundamental of care framework as a resource. we use the Fundamentals of Care framework to outline what is involved in the delivery of high-quality care. As the framework elaborates the complexity in nursing care, it might be able to support newly graduated nurses' provision of direct care and have a positive influence on the transition challenges, as the intention is to ensure that no patient needs are neglected and to guide healthcare providers. We wish to explore the framework's utility in the transition period because recent research highlights that the framework provides nursing students an insight into what nursing care is and provides them with an overview for assessing patient needs. Now we are curious if the same positive experiences can be found in the transition period of newly graduated nurses if we apply the framework to support the newly graduated nurses' direct care provision. In 2012, Aalborg University Hospital entered an international collaboration on the development of the framework. Due to an extensive work effort, the framework is at this time incorporated into clinical practice, management, education, and research in clinical nursing in the North Denmark region, which provide us with a unique opportunity to investigate the framework's utility in the transition period. Finally, I just want to show you the flow of the studies planned and how the studies are related. The project will be performed in a Plan Do Study Act design that provides a structure of the action to support newly graduated nurses to provide direct care using the Conceptual Fundamentals of Care framework. The project consists of 3 studies with different methodological approaches. Study 1 is an umbrella review that aims to summarize existing research synthesis of newly graduated nurses' experiences of providing direct care in hospital settings. Study 2 is an ethnographic study exploring Danish newly graduated nurses' provision of direct care in a hospital setting. And Study 3 is an action research study aiming to support newly graduated nurses provision of direct care using the Conceptual Fundamentals of Care framework. The plan states consist of 2 descriptive studies that will investigate the evidence how to accommodate newly graduated nurses' provision of direct care, first in an international and then in a local perspective. The Do stage will be a pilot test of an intervention focusing specifically on how the framework can inform newly graduated nurses' provision of direct care, and the study stage will explore the newly graduated nurses' experiences of providing nursing care using the Fundamentals of Care framework. Thank you for listening. If this presentation raises any questions concerning how we use the Fundamentals of Care resources and materials, please feel free to send me an email.